This time around, I'm going not 8, not 16, but 32 bits. And I'll be going all the way to Saturn for these 32 bits. The Sega Saturn, to be specific. This was Sega's second entry into the world of home console 32 bits, the first being the 32X. Though I gotta say, the Saturn looks more authentic. But enough of that, Croc. It's time for Croc. Yeah, so after the success of Sonic the Hedgehog, lots of developers were trying to create the next super successful anthropomorphic animal mascot. Say that 3 times fast. Much like how, after the success of Donkey Kong, lots of developers were trying to create the next super successful Mario-looking guy. And video games like Crash Bandicoot showed us that the animal mascot can be successful in 3D. Well, let's take a look at Croc and see how he fares. Well, first off, that is one catchy home screen theme. Anyways, our story kicks off a little sad. Apparently somebody didn't want this adorable little crocodile as he washes ashore in a basket. He is then found by the cute, but not so bright, Gobbos. Gobbos? Not so bright, because he could definitely eat them. But he doesn't because he thinks he's a Gobbo. As you can see by this montage, he is trained by the Gobbos, and he grows up. Wow, what a growth spurt. Well, obviously something bad's gonna happen, otherwise we don't have a game, right? Exactly. Enter Baron Dante and his Dantinis. You see, he couldn't stand how happy the Gobbos were, so he decided it was time for them to suffer. Dante and his Dantinis kidnap the Gobbos, while King Rufus rings the gong, calling Beanie the Bird to whisk Croc away to safety. Dante then takes King Rufus as his own personal prisoner. Whether Croc likes it or not, he is the Gobbos champion. Now on to the gameplay. First, let's mention the options menu. I really like the 3D models they put together just to represent what you've highlighted. I really like the headphones. I would buy those headphones. Okay, so on every level you fight Dantinis, and have 6 Gobbos to find. You don't have to find them all, but if you keep finding all 6, you will be rewarded with secrets. At the end of each level is a gong. The same type of gong that King Rufus used to protect Croc from Dante. Ring the gong and you end the stage, but this really isn't the best ending to each level. Let's talk about the controls for a second. To be honest, I feel like they're a bit clunky. My guess is the developers focused too much on Croc being able to reorient himself. So when you first play the game, you feel out of control. This is one of those games that can utilize the 3D controller. I thought this option would be better by far, but quite the opposite really. The reorienting problem is magnified using the 3D stick, and Croc feels like a car on ice, especially in narrow or tight spaces, which are all throughout the game. Now, fortunately, you can change between the stick and the D-pad with the flip of a switch. Another thing I'll have to mention is, in most 3D platformers, one important thing is knowing how far to jump. And you are rewarded for those jumps. In this game, however, it's more about mastering when to stop moving through the air. Otherwise, you'll overshoot your jumps, and the game punishes you for jumping too far. Well, there is one pretty good control mechanic in this game, though. An instant turnaround button. It doesn't sound like much on paper, but using it is very helpful, and while running, it looks pretty cool. It's also very precise. Another problem is the jungle gym mechanics. I remember seeing this on the commercial for Croc 2, and though it is cool looking, it's very messy. He sways back and forth too much, and can easily gravitate to one side or the other, which makes him fall off. So that means you have to take the extra time to straighten him out. I recommend jumping on top of these spots if you can. One more thing. There are parts in the game where you can see jewels high up on a ledge and out of reach. Well, it turns out there are spots on the wall where Croc can climb up. But some of them don't really stand out. In this world, for example, you're looking for a texture that kinda looks like a misshapen door. You can thank me later. Another thing this game has going for it is a pretty good soundtrack. I already mentioned the title screen, but really, the music throughout most of the game puts you in a good mood. I like the cave tunes. And I especially like the sneaky music. Just like Sonic, Croc is kept alive by, well, currency. In this case, jewels. Some of these jewels, you will find, have only one color. Collect 5 of these on each level to open the secret door. This takes you to the secret room on each level, where there's one more Gobbo, some other goodies, and another gong. If you're an overachiever, this is the gong you want to ring. Not much else to say about how the game works, so let's look at levels and bosses. The first world we kick off with is, of course, bright, sunny, with plenty of grass, just like you'd expect for the first world. However, for some reason, there's lava everywhere. And there are caves to explore that you enter by jumping down a pipe like a certain famous Italian plumber. And the Jewel Gate zones often take place high in the air. These cliffs are in the clouds. Who would go through the trouble to lock a gobbo away this high in the air? And that's another thing. Someone has been making large desserts and leaving them lying around. What else would you do but jump on it? This concept made it to the cover of the game box. I guess they thought it was pretty cool. Another thing I like is some of the views that you can get in this game are quite nice to look at. Let's talk about bosses. Each world has 2 bosses to fight. Dante creates these bosses by transforming innocent creatures into monsters. Kind of like Dr. Robotnik. The first boss, I guess his name is Feeble, is too easy. He runs around almost aimlessly trying to crash into Croc. He kind of looks like one of those old drinking bird toys. Most of the bosses in this game only take 3 hits to beat, and he's no exception. Every time you beat one of these bosses, their evil form disappears and they return to the innocent creature they once were. Again, kinda like Sonic. Another annoying thing is even though Croc blinks when he's hurt, he doesn't get any time of invulnerability, so things like lava can quickly take 1-ups. Also, if you mess up on something, you either have to give up or get a game over on purpose just to try again. Like this part right here. If you break any of these boxes on the way up, or if you break this tower of boxes, you're not going to get the key that's right behind the tower of boxes. Okay, so the key wasn't inside the totem pole of boxes, it was behind it. 25 years later, and the developers are still getting people with that one. Sometimes you come across a room like this. A happy tune and 1 box. Go to open it, and it starts sliding all over the room. This box can actually hurt Croc. When you finally do open it, there's a gobbo inside. Should've left you in there. Now for the second boss. His name is Flibby. Once a ladybug, but now a boxing monster. Naturally, he is more difficult than Feeble the drinking bird. But not by a lot, really. Just stay out of his reach and wait for him to throw this hard, balance-losing right hand that makes him winded. And when he's catching his breath, tail whip him, knocking him to the floor, and then stomp on him. I like the sound the audience makes. Stomp on him 3 times, and you win. After beating Flibby, you're treated to a new world. It's a winter wonderland. This one's pretty. I also like the Christmassy music. including the sneaky tune. Croc's digging it too.
I think it's pretty cute how Croc leaves footprints in the snow.
Also cute, listen to this. Well, there's not much left to say, really. So, on to the rest of the bosses, and a few other things. The first boss you fight in this world is Chumley. Not exactly sure what he is, but Dante finds him and he kind of has this attitude like, hey, yeah, you! You'll do nicely. Slaps a jetpack on him. Well, his tactics are simple enough. Fly about only 6 feet in the air, and try your best to smash Croc. This time around, you're fighting on ice, so naturally, Croc keeps slipping around. What you want to do is have Chumley slam to the ground without Croc under him, and when he's down, you can either tail whip him or stomp him. Second Ice World boss is Demon Itzy.
Yeah, that really is his name.
He starts off as 4 separate bunnies, but, of course, Dante strikes again, turning them into one big snow demon, named Itzy. The fighting tactics seem to be a blend between Chumley and Flibby. He chases Croc around trying to squish him. Like usual, let him miss, tire himself out, then strike. When you strike Itzy, he shrinks and multiplies. This part right here actually startled me. He shrinks and multiplies one more time, then you win.
On to the next world.
This world has a desert theme, I guess. The map looks like something you'd see from a Roadrunner cartoon, but each level is either full of holes or mud that Croc can't touch. But seriously though, I don't really know what they were aiming for with these level designs. You would think that there would be sand, cactuses, and tumbleweeds, or something like that. Again, like Roadrunner.
But instead, everything is dark, and what's with these stretching platforms?
I do like the mummies, the elephant, and the hammerhead shark they've added in this world, though. Now it's time for this world's first boss, Neptuna.
Honestly, I find this boss to be the hardest one in the game.
The biggest reason being is that this fight takes place underwater. The best way I can describe the strategy I use is this. Allow Neptuna to chase after him and get about 4 feet away. Then do the automatic turnaround and wait about 1 second, then hit the swim button twice. He'll swing his scepter and miss. Then swim back toward him and hit the attack button at the same time.
I think it's funny how when you beat him, he sounds like an old man.
Second boss of this world is Cactus Jack. He was once, you guessed it, an ordinary cactus. Dante was feeling more creative this time. Okay, first you want to dodge the spikes that Jack fires. Then he spins around fast and in a wide circle. Stay out of his range. When he comes to a stop and is dizzy, that's when you attack.
It's kind of interesting how this one doesn't have a wake up and go away moment because he's a cactus.
And with the defeat of Cactus Jack, we are now in the last world. A large tower and scare house kind of motif. And of course, the pitfalls are even more out of control than the last world. Especially this part. I lost several times trying to both time and correctly distance his jumps. And the first boss here is Fosley. An ordinary kid, of some kind, who is turned gigantic and given more balloons.
This one, I'm not really sure how I won.
You run around the donut dodging dynamite. And I guess you want to make the springboard launch that dynamite back at Fosley. I sloppily pulled it off. Before we get to the next boss, just saying, I like these fast guys. And these sword fighters.
On guard!
And at last, the fight with Dante himself.
Really, it's kind of like 3 fights in one. First he has a fist pound attack, then a raging bull attack, then finally a hover in the air while shooting magic attack. Round 1. Jump over his sonic wave he creates by pounding the ground. I recommend jumping when Dante's fist is above his head. When he stands up, hit him. Do that 3 times and make him spin. Round 2. Stand still with your eyes on Dante and wait for him to charge. Jump while moving to the side to make him crash into the wall. Then tail whip him. 3 of those and he spins again. Round 3. Okay, I had some trouble with this one. I do not recommend the jump rope method I tried at first. It works one time, but after you hit him once, he fires too rapidly to dodge that way again. Instead, run around the room and wait for the magic attacks to stop. Then return to the center and tail whip. He doesn't spin around this time. First you watch Dante throw a fit, then disappear. Okay, now he's spinning. King Rufus hollers at Croc to let him out of his cage. Back home, there's a big celebration for the champion of the Gobbos, Croc. They erect a big statue in Croc's image, and then dance to the beat.
I like how Croc looks confused while clapping. And that's Croc. Not a bad game by any means. I think it deserves a 7 out of 10. It was also a proof of concept that adventure platformers were possible and fun on the Sega Saturn.